What's up, everybody? Welcome to another Yannis Pappas Hour. Today, we're going to just take a dive into the rise of the progressives in New York City specifically. They are the counterculture once again. Out of power. Eric Adams, who was a Democrat, is now a Nazi. He's right-wing. Andrew Cuomo, right-wing. As Sweden has taken a turn to the right, New York is taking a turn to the left. The beacon on the hill in Scandinavia, which is the beacon on an icicle for socialists, is taking a turn for the right. Taxes are down from 80% to 52%, which is basically what we're paying here. There's billionaires springing up in Sweden. But in New York, we are taking a turn to the left. Welfare is being squeezed by immigration in Sweden. They have assimilation problems. Violence is up. Asylum applications are down 40% in Sweden. Far-right parties are on the rise. They're saying, no, close the border, close the doors. What is happening to Bernie's icicle on a hill? His igloo on a hill, turning to the right, while New York is turning against the far-right Eric Adams and going left. We're going left, baby. We're going back to rent freezes. We're going back to egalite. We're going back to immigrants. The left loves fucking immigrants. And the right has turned to, we like whites. Two very extreme positions in control of the narrative. Both of them still in the minority. You know, they make up about 13% each one, 13 to 16% of people. But they are duking it out while everyone else quietly tries to raise their kids or go to work, which is as per usual. But the difference between the left wing here in New York and the 1960s left wing is the 1960s left wing was cool. They were cool. They were fighting to jettison a yoke culturally, right? Now the culture is all fucking open. Right wing is okay with gay marriage. So it's like, you got to be cool. What's your cool? You're not cool, right? You're just childless. Most of you are just childless. And you just want things affordable for you. You just want to be able to go to the bar again for you. You just want to be able to continue to pursue your dream in stand-up comedy for you. You want to pursue your dreams. As jobs evaporate and AI starts coming in, you reject the companies that could provide the jobs for the AI revolution that won't be stopped no matter what. It's either coming to Virginia or it's coming to New York. It's either coming to Texas or it's coming to New York. And New York says, no, we want bodegas everywhere. I want cat on the bread. I want to walk in and it smells like cat piss. I want to be able to get Fabuloso that said expired in 2005. I want to order my pack of American spirits at the gentrified bar next to the bodega behind bulletproof glass. I want to support Papi. Even though most bodegas have been gentrified by Arabs. When you get into the weeds of this stuff, it gets very funny. Why is there no progressive movement against the Arabs who took over the bodegas? The Koreans who took over the fucking supermarkets with overpriced flowers outside. I don't know how that's a viable business. I don't know how many people are buying flowers, but they got about 6 to 7 Mexicans out there working the flowers. How many fucking anniversaries could there be? How many flowers could women buy? I never see anyone taking the flowers in, getting cut by the Mexicans outside, and being brought in and put on the weigh counter. And then you pay $300 for fucking flowers that die in 2 days. Does AOC shop at the bodega? Does she get her dinner at the bodega with her boyfriend, Baker Scott Jollings the third? Do you take your Tesla to the bodega in your district for dinner? Are you shopping where you can also buy a scratch off? Are you and your boyfriend going out in your district to watch an Imagine Comedy Night featuring Rob Stapleton? A gig that Sergio Chicone said no to because he's in the white rooms. Are you going to Chancleta Night in Spanish Harlem? AOC. I'm just asking. I'm not saying no. I'm just saying, I bet you there's a good chance I could take a paparazzi photo of you in Whole Foods. I bet you I might catch you at Trader Joe's. I guarantee you I may see you at the Whole Foods, AOC. I guarantee I'll see you at the Whole Foods. Small businesses, working class, okay? That's a viable marketplace for progressives. That's their base. So who do we have who is voting progressive, right? The union guys are in a tough pickle, right? Because culturally, they're Republican. Culturally, the old union guys, the mafia gets involved. They're Italian. They're Irish. They work at the docks. They work at the construction unions. Construction unions. They use a lot of, let's say temporary working papers. It's a piece of paper you walk in on a yellow pad and you go, this guy's legal. And they go, si, senor, bang, 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 and they start hammering. So unions leveled the playing field of capitalism, right? When capitalism was running away. And you do need balance. But then unions got so powerful, they got in bed with the mob, and they started slowing down efficiency in order to do what humans do. And that is greed, power. It is part of the human condition that you won't stop, whether you're in a union or a corporate structure. A structure takes form, right? You want to be a communist? You want the group to all contribute? You want to be a kibbutz? Well, guess what happens? One person rises to the top and becomes the leader. The other person becomes better at this. And then again, then you start going, which one is more of a dispensable job? Well, the one who does this can go to the teenager who's working his summer job. The person who's working their summer job could go and give the popcorn, to the kids. And then you go, yeah, because he's a kid. He wants to party, whatever. And then that kid goes, fuck that. I don't want to work. So then you know what happens? We got to go. We need somebody to serve the popcorn. And then a 5'3" Mexican comes in and goes, I'm fleeing the cartels. I will work for $3. And so while Baker's at the beach at Delaware going, yeah, listening to Carly Rae Jepsen or whatever, or saying no cap, whatever, going to a Stavros Halkas concert, with mommy's money. Then the Mexican steps in and he works the job that started at the kibbutz where everyone was equal, but now they decided that job is dispensable more than the leader job because the leader's a good leader and he delegates well and they place more value on that position because that's how things end up getting built. That's how progress happens. You ever try to pitch a TV show with 14 people giving you notes? Doesn't work so good. These are the underpinnings, right? The underpinnings. Now, capitalism, of course. If you ever play the game Monopoly, at some point you got to go, okay, we need a little redistribution here. The game, this one guy's got all the property and I just got one. I got Baltic. We need to do something, right? So you go in, you fucking, It oscillates. The socialism rises. The Great New Deal. We reset government programs. Okay, the referee comes in and goes, okay, Wall Street, the orgy's over. How much cocaine can you guys do? You reset it a little bit. Boom, give some people some incentives. Boom, bam, bam. You reset. But here's the thing I think a lot of Gen Zers, and this is primarily a Gen Z-backed movement, right? It's Gen Z working with some millennials who haven't moved to the suburbs yet, probably childless, or maybe one child, right? And they argue about it every night because the woman also wants to fucking get out there. So she's stressed. How can I do my career and raise my kid? And I get it. They need a 2-parent income. But you know why they need a 2-parent income? Because they're living in fucking New York City. And why is New York City so expensive? Because it's not Cleveland. There is no affordability crisis in Cleveland. Everyone wants to come to New York, immigrants included. They come, where do they want to go? You don't want to go from fucking Somalia to fucking Cleveland. You're like, this is a lateral move. I'll go back. You want to come to New York? Everyone wants to come to New York. Did you look at that rally they had the other night? How many Somali immigrants did you see in the crowd? Look how white that crowd is. I mean, your eyes don't lie. Zoran Mandani and AOC and Bernie, whatever, the Bernie disciples, had a rally, and it was very white in the audience. It's very white. Now, so who's the base? The base is working class people get priced out. All right, they definitely support AOC Mandani, right? You look at her districts, you're going to see a lot of immigrants who are working hard, and she's promising just fucking, we're going to get you guys some tax breaks. We're going to give you stuff. We're going to take from the rich. They got too much, and we're going to give stuff to you. That's what we're going to do. We're going to prioritize small businesses and give those tax breaks to the bodegas. We don't want to give the tax breaks to the corporations, lose the flavor of it. They exploit. It's colonial capitalism. They come in, Walmart, blah, 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 blah. There's a lot of good points there. There's a lot of good points. But one could also say, if those tax breaks go to the bodegas and the and the little stores here and the mom and pops, I will go shop there. You ever notice those places you just kind of have to force yourself to shop at? Because as progress moves forward and the digital revolution happened, which is the unspoken elephant in the room, is that the economy is changing. And if you go against the progress, you may suffer. You may get like some short-term gain, a little rent freeze, Bill de Blasio did, a little gain for 1 million people who lived in rent-stabilized apartments for a couple of years. They only paid a 2% increase or whatever. But ultimately, the whole fucking thing falls apart because landlords go, whoa, inflation's going up 36%. I can only increase over 12 years to 20%. That's 16% over. My costs have gone up over 16%. And they just go, fuck it, I'm going to build luxury buildings. I'm selling this building. And they start protesting. Right? Because at the end of the day, what the right is more honest about, albeit cynical and sometimes exploitative, albeit honest, it's double albeits I gave you there, is that people vote based on their interest, right? On their experience based on their interest. What the left is a kind of dishonest about is that fact, right? They're always like just this utopian, like care about others when nobody really does. A lot of people don't even care about their own uncles. Sometimes like, I don't even like my uncle, but you're supposed to care about your fucking other guy? It just doesn't work that way. Unfortunately, or fortunately, whatever you want to say, I don't know. Because that's the problem with empathy, It's called the paradox of tolerance. If you don't fight intolerance with intolerance, usually those are the first people, once they allow evil in, right? Through the paradox of tolerance. Usually when evil takes root, the first people that new power structure gets rid of is the tolerant ones, because they don't want any pushback or other option to their power. Look at the Iranian Revolution. Perfect example, right? The leftists over there hated the Shah. We hated the Shah, right? Carter, whatever. There was foreign money pulling in. The Shah's no good, whatever. And the left supported getting rid of the Shah. And they were happy about the Iranian Revolution until the burqa turned. And that's what happened. Massive, massive left-wing support from the youth in Iran to get rid of the Shah, and they just didn't know what was coming. There's an old St. Thomas More quote when this guy comes in and, it's a man for all seasons. It's a man for all seasons. You could probably find the quote on YouTube. You don't have to find it. I'll say what it says. The guy's going in and they're trying to get this guy, and he goes, "We got to get him," whatever. I'm just giving you you can watch it for yourself. He goes, and then, so I should go hunt them down and do this and break the law. He said, yeah. He goes, we should break every law. We got to get him. We got to get him. And then St. Thomas More goes, and when every law is laid fat, I've broken all these laws in order to get this bad guy, to get the devil, essentially. I've broken this law. I've done this law. I've done this. And then every law in England has been laid flat, and I get the devil. And then the devil turns around at me. What am I going to do then? All the laws have been laid flat. What's going to protect me then? I became him to get him. So when he turns around, what's there to protect me? There's no rule of law to protect me. So that's what happened in Iran. Just to tell you how my point is how utopian thinking kind of can lead to your own demise. Right? So back to the original point. Who are these people who support them? They're, like I said, the union guys, they're like, okay, they're pro-union, I like that. But culturally, I can't get on board because they don't like immigrants. They're taking jobs, all that shit. American flag, they like that. They don't culturally like all the gay shit. The immigrants also don't like the gay shit. I hate to break it to you. They don't like the gay shit. The Mexican immigrants are Catholic. They don't like the gay shit. The Muslims that you love, Mondami, they're not happy with what you're saying for sex workers or for trans rights. They don't like it. They don't like it. They're culturally more conservative than the fucking whitest guy in Texas. This is the reality when you get into the weeds. They don't like it. They don't like the gay shit. So my point is sometimes when you advocate on their behalf just because they're immigrants and they're, trying to make ends meet or whatever, culturally, when you let them in, they get power. They may turn around and say, we're getting rid of the gay shit because they don't like the gay shit. I hate to break it to you. Immigrants don't like gay shit. The Greeks don't like gay shit.
They don't?
No, they do not. They invented it, but the families, and the immigrants, they're not into the gay shit. So who's the base? Because I keep going on tangents, right? You got some working class people, native New Yorkers, obviously, getting squeezed. That is the bread and butter for the progressive movement, is people getting left behind in the progress. Let's just be honest. The people getting left behind. In the tech revolution, whatever industry comes, it was during the industrial revolution, it was the industrialists. They're being exploited. The workers, they work, they get paid little. They can't keep up with rising costs and inflation. I get it. I understand, right? So that's the base. But then you also have the white children of middle class and affluent, dreamers during the dream boom, as the economy shifted, no more factories, everything service-based, the internet came up. Oh, now you can make a living running your mouth. Now I can move. You notice how there's a lot of rich people's kids becoming comedians now? It's like people with great childhoods are becoming comedians. Everyone's becoming a comedian, and now the acting's drying up, so like fucking more comedians are coming. Well, everyone's talking shit. People are talking shit about people who talk shit. And they move to New York because the suburbs suck. You don't want to fucking work at a Panera Bread holding a buzzer telling a family that their fucking table's ready. So the kids come here and they compete in the dream. New York, where dreams are made. And they mostly lose because it's a pyramid. They mostly lose. What do they do when they lose? Do they go back? Do they go back to Schaumburg, Illinois, or fucking Baltimore, or wherever the fuck they came from, where it's affordable, and get a job at a restaurant or whatever? Or they continue to live off their girlfriend's parents or their girlfriend's job or whatever they're doing and pay the high rent and keep gentrifying the neighborhood? What I'm saying is, what you saw in that rally, I guarantee you most of those white people moved to New York. Because the New York that I grew up into, to find a white like that, you had to go to the Upper East Side. Do you remember those days? To just find a generic white? The New York that I grew up in, which was very affordable, there were certain neighborhoods like Upper East Side but everything else was very affordable. There were no generic whites, right? You went to Brooklyn, it was, hey, how you doing? I'm Italian. And it was like, hey, how you doing? My name's Sean. I'm Irish, right? And then there was like, oh, I'm Romanian. But, very few like, oh, I'm from Ruska. That was newer, right? There was no Indians. It was all Puerto Ricans and Dominicans at the place. Then what about those gentrifiers? Then the Indians came and the Arabs came and the Chinese came. There was very few Chinese. All these immigrants started coming. But if you go to Queens, what are you going to find? Immigrants and a couple of gentrifying whites. The neighborhood of Astoria went from working class Greek to fucking very rich. Why? Because of Jeff Bezos? Or because of dreamers driving up demand? New York is small. It's dense. Limited supply. High demand. Everyone wants to fucking live here, right? It's not only for the dream, because now the dream has kind of been democratized, and I hope people get the message. Fucking leave. Go to Cleveland. You can do your little stupid online business in Cleveland. But they don't leave. They stay, and they keep grinding away and yelling about Matt Rife and Nazis. They yell about Theo Vaughn interviewing fucking Trump. Even though this fucking old hag interviewed Obama. After he talked all that shit, he goes and he interviews Obama. As if Obama, doesn't talk, what is the expression? Talk softly and carry a big stick. The guy liked to drone bomb. He also liked to fucking catapult illegals. More than any president that's ever walked the face of the earth. I worked for a Spanish network. They called him the deporter-in-chief. And then he was sitting there going on on Maron's podcast, he was going, people are just, all they do is value money. It's not good. He was like, that's what's become. It's like everyone's valuing money. And I'm sitting there looking at this guy and I go, I like Obama. Smooth talking, great leader. He had a great run as president for the most part, unless you were in the Tea Party. Things were good. He was pro-change. He got it. He was pro-business, right? Even though he was like the people. He was fucking, making his deals. The guy's worth $70 billion. How much for the working class can you be if you're worth $70 million? Post-presidency, $70 million. That's a lot of shekels. Guys, we are brought to you, as always, by Cornbread Hemp, It's a good company. CBD gummies, one of those nice things that have come from the profit motive. People figured out, hey, you don't like getting high, but you like a nice body relax. You like to cool down, but you don't want to have to take benzos. Pappas CBD gummy. I love CBD. I use cornbread hemp all the time. Thank you, cornbread hemp. Their CBD gummies are made to help you feel better, whether it's stress, poor sleep, or just needing a moment to unwind. CBD might be just what you need to level up your daily routine if you are somebody who gets a little stressed and anxious. Cornbread hemp uses only the best part of the hemp. 7 plant, the flower, for the purest and most potent CBD. No fillers, no junk, just full spectrum goodness. Right now, they're really great. Right now, they're offering 30% off your first order. It's pretty nice. 30%. You know, usually companies go 10, 15. They're going 30% your first order to get you in the door. Just go to cornbreadhemp.com/Yannis. Use the code Yannis at checkout. That's cornbreadhemp.com/Yannis with the code Yannis to get 30% off your first order. So the hypocrisy is hilarious. It's the same type of hypocrisy I see when I see the handsome kid, the handsome Turk. Probably a nice kid. I'd probably hang out with him and be able to deadlift with him. And he'd do more than me. He's younger than me. But the kid's a multimillionaire. He sits there and he shocks his dog when it moves. And he keeps him on the fucking thing. Don't move, right? His big old dog. People are upset about that. I'm a dog lover. I don't think he shocked him. Maybe he vibrated him. People are making a big deal about it because the guy's a multimillionaire. He's a multimillionaire. And he goes on TV and he yells about Israel being a quasi, religious hierarchy, And I go, aren't you from Turkey? Aren't you from Turkey? Don't you know what the Ottomans did? Did they not create a fucking religious hierarchy for 1,400 years when you do the Arab expansions plus the Ottomans? I love Muslims, good people. All good people. I love individuals. But we're talking about power structures here. I'm not saying the Christian world was any better, but I'm not saying the Muslims are victims. This is the new American religion, right? It's grievance as identity. Right? It's grievance as identity on the left and right? So if you're on the left, it's like discrimination, billionaires, sexism, patriarchal discrimination, historical discrimination. It's I'm a victim. It's like my grievance, right? And then on the right now, it's like, oh, the Jews are everywhere, shadowy forces, the deep state. I'm a victim, right? Even Putin invades Ukraine, right? A sovereign nation. They go, well, it's NATO's fault. It's NATO's fault. It's just all this victim blaming. Oh, but what about Putin? He's scared of NATO. He's scared of a defensive alliance that would never attack, didn't threaten to attack, and could never attack. Poor Putin. Poor Putin. Poor Putin. What Israel has done is horrible, right? They've gone too far. But, what happened? Hamas attacks, kills close to 2,000 people, burns people up, and go, oh, fuck, look, it's their fault. I'm not saying that's not more complicated. I understand it is. I'm just saying the knee-jerk reaction is always, Vic, I'm the wizard. Nobody has any fucking agency. You notice that? Nobody has any agency of their own for their own actions, right? So this kid goes out and he always yells about Israel. And I understand. There's a lot to critique. I'm not saying there is. But it would take to take a moment to just kind of go, I understand how complicated this is. Because I understand that don't sell tickets. When you appeal the reason, that don't sell tickets. Getting people angry sells tickets. Pointing at a boogeyman sells tickets. And the problem is when that gets into, when your campaign, because that's essentially campaigning. When your campaign actually gets into the government, you go, oh, I don't know how to fucking work these gray zones. I don't know how to make deals. I know how to campaign and yell. I mean, it's one of the funniest things. I saw a clip of him talking, it was he was talking, he was talking about Israel, and he defined it in a way that I just went, that sounds familiar to me. And the reason we can't get away with it with me is because I come from a family that for many years, we were subjugated by his ancestors, right? Handsome kid, white kid too. I don't care what you say. Okay, look at that hair. You can't claim there's no Arab. That's Central Asian mixed with some fucking Caucasus that got raped. Your ancestors took some cesarean women because that's what they liked. They go over to what is now Russia. They take these women that call cesarean. They like the way they look, and they throw them in a harem and they'd fuck them. And if that kid is not a Jon Snow or rape, I don't know who is. I don't know what I'm talking about. It's not true. But I just want to point out that it's just very interesting to me that sometimes, this one video I saw when he says, he doesn't like any country, doesn't support any country that is a quasi, his exact words were like a quasi-religious ethno-state. And I was going, isn't Turkey a majority ethno-national state? Didn't they commit an Armenian genocide of 1.5 million people estimated? Didn't they kick out 1.5 Anatolian Greeks? They did. Assyrians, didn't they kick them out? Didn't they kick them out of their homes? Yes, they did. Yes, they did. And the ones that were left over, didn't they create policies that forced the remaining Kurds, Jews, and Armenians and Greeks that stayed in Istanbul to either leave or convert? Yes, they did. Here, I'll go even one step further. Unfortunately, the entire Middle East, is quasi-religious states with Muslim majorities. Besides Lebanon is the sole exception. So that's just something I have noticed that doesn't come up, which is very interessante to me. It's very what they call interessante. Anyway, we're going off on a tangent, but obviously what I'm saying is Israel. Yes, what you're saying about Israel, although there's 2 million Arabs that live there, right? Maybe they don't have the same rights. I get that, right? According to some of them, they're fine. I don't know. I don't fucking know. It's not my fucking country, and I'm sick of talking to them, and I don't fucking care. But my point is, you look at the other countries, it's the same shit. And for 1,400 years, if you were a non-Muslim, you couldn't even bring charges against a Muslim. How do you think that worked out? You think everyone was just chill? You think everyone was just chill? When as a non-Muslim, you could not bring legal charges against the Muslim. You were a second-class citizen. And you had to pay a giza. And everyone goes, oh, well, they let them keep their religions and everyone lives side by side. And I go, no, they had to pay a fucking extortion tax. What they said was, hey, you know what? We'll tax them more. We'll let them keep their religion. It was smart. And they'll fund our fucking wars. We'll tax them more. Anyway, I'm going way off base to just prove a point. And the point is that when you leap over details and leap over human nature and leap over the gray zones of reality, you end up not knowing what the fuck you're talking about. So, back to the original point. Mamdani's going to win this election, right? Grievance culture will get its candidate. Left-wing grievance culture. Hopefully right-wing grievance culture doesn't get their fucking candidate. Because that guy's going to start his rally like that. Jesus Christ. I'll take a Mamdani any day over Jake Shields for president. We're spinning out of control, brother. We are spinning out of control. So he will come in, right? And he's promising a lot of stuff that I would vote for him for. Hey, fucking yeah. Free buses, free shit. And like I said earlier, but I didn't finish because I'm all over the place. And you just have to follow my train of thought here because I'm a comedian. I'm not, I'm looking for the funny. I think a lot of young people, the thing that I've had meta insights about when it comes to socialism and communism. You know, we did a whole episode on what's the difference. You see communists out there campaigning for him. You know, I've seen that. They're wearing the shirts. They call each other comrade. AOC in her speech called one of the next speakers comrade. I think she called Mondani her comrade. You know, you can't tell me shit because my mom was a communist, okay? I was brought up that way. It appeals to emotion. It appeals to your decency. I get that part. But it also appeals to your naivete, to people. That's why young people get so taken by it. They haven't experienced anything. Young people are more prone to blame their failures on other people than themselves. Have you ever noticed it's always the people who dream about seizing the modes of production that wake up at noon? Have you noticed that? I've noticed that. Have you noticed that Che Guevara was a rich kid? I noticed that. Did you notice that? Because I noticed that. Do you notice a lot of the thinkers behind left-wing movements are just rich kids? Do you notice that? I noticed it. Che Guevara was a rich, wealthy kid. I noticed it. Plenty of time to contemplate the modes of production when you're not engaged in them. So they don't even know. Like if you sat them down, I don't think they even understand that communism, socialism, communism, the redistribution of wealth was created as a critique of capitalism at the time. It doesn't operate in a vacuum, and it can't. And why it can't is because you need capitalism to create wealth in order to have something to quote unquote socialize. Otherwise, everyone's just standing around waiting for their fucking government check. Because that's human nature. How many examples do we have to go through to show that on its own it don't work? I mean, how many? How many excuses and rationalizations are communists going to have about, well, there's no real world examples? Yeah, we do. That's what real world examples are. Russia folded, right? Oh, they folded because we forced them into an arm race. Again, no agency. Again, they're a victim of America. Cuba, again, the embargo. Victim, no agency. Venezuela right now. Oh, no, the people in the streets are fucking, it's America. Again, evil America, where all the people from those countries swim to. Where Mondani's father, who was kicked out of Uganda, forced out of Uganda, went to London. They took him in as a refugee with open arms. And then he comes to America and he talks about America is the most evil country in the world. And he oversimplifies greatly. Hasty generalization, lazy fucking analysis in history, and says that the Nazis based their fucking concentration camps off of Indian reservations solely. And Hitler learned genocide from Abraham Lincoln. And that's what's in our fucking schools, because we are a tolerant country with no firewall for nationalism, which I like. But the risk is you always have the paradox of tolerance, right? You tolerate all these views until they're saying the person who's allowing me to have these views is evil. And then that grows, and then you do away with the whole thing that allowed you to fucking talk your bullshit. If you just talk on the internet without any real world skill, I'm always skeptical. Here's the thing you can trust Yanni for. I don't talk about this when you see me live, which is where I make money. I tell jokes. I talk about my family. That's my skill. I have a skill set. I can make you laugh. I'm not dependent on politics to just talk and talk and talk and rile you up while I drive my fucking Ferrari. It's just very interesting to me. You know, I don't think they understand that socialism is parasitic on capitalism. Socialism just can't arise on its own. You need the billionaires or the multimillionaires to take money from. Or else you're just all the same poor. Do you understand? When you impregnate those ideas into reality from the onset, you're all just the same poor because nobody is motivated to grow anything for their own interest, which is part of human nature. So you got a hodgepodge of fucking young people who are just angry, but they don't understand the reality that I am talking right now. They just understand grievance. And I do see, I think it's ironic that a lot of the people who are going to be voting for Mamdani, definitely campaigning for Mamdani, you'd say the intelligentsia structure of his campaign, right? The college, liberal arts educated people who, you know, want to be filmmakers or comedians or whatever they want to be. You know who I'm talking about. We know who it is. They're in Long Island City, they're in Williamsburg, they're in fucking, and they're living in their $2,000 rent apartment, and they're trying to live their dream, and they don't, you know, they got Obamacare, and of course they're paying only $50 a month while I pay $3,000, but that's still not good enough. The intelligentsia of his campaign, I can't help but notice the irony that almost all of them, I know for a fact, are what caused the city to be so expensive. And now they're campaigning to fix the problem they caused, and they're doing it for them. Am I wrong? What made New York so expensive? What's the primary independent variable of what made New York so expensive? Now, you can't tell me shit, because I didn't come from fucking Turkey or Baltimore or fucking wherever the fuck, I don't know where they come from. Illinois, wherever the fuck they're coming from, and voting in my fucking city. You can't tell me that there was fucking just whites like you walking around when I was a kid. There weren't. They were only in Manhattan. And they were usually Jews. Right? You had Italians, Irish, Jews. You had blacks. That's kind of about it. A few. Oh, I'm sorry. Fuck. Puerto Ricans. Tons of those. Then the Dominicans came a little later. Tons of Puerto Ricans. So you really had Puerto Ricans, the nondescript whites were usually Jews in the city, right? Had a little money. And then you had Irish, Italian, Puerto Rican. It was like, that was it. Some Dominicans came. Oh, El Salvadorian? What the fuck is that? It was kind of like that. And the city was very affordable. Now, what happens? After a while, more people came. Immigrants keep coming. All the opportunity in New York. Students keep coming. Then the dreamers start coming. They want to be in the arts. They want to be Madonna. They want to be Seinfeld. And they stay. And what happens? They can't afford the city because they're fucking, because they're doing tour bus drives, and they're working in museums or whatever they're doing, and working in bars or whatever, and then they don't want to live in black neighborhoods, not all the way, but they start creeping in because they have to. A few of them get killed. Just like the front lines, few of them get stabbed, few of them get fucking shanked up, but they eventually overwhelm those neighborhoods, and then the rents start fucking going through the roof. And then their parents help them put a down payment on something in fucking Carroll Gardens, and then they buy a fucking thing, but more of them keep coming so that they can sell to those new dreamers. We need a dream carousel, right? But it goes like this. You come in, you got 4 years, 4 to 6 to 7 years. Boost the economy, more people are coming. But your dream doesn't work 6, 7 years, you have to leave. You got to leave. You got to get off the ride to make room for new people who want to come in. And if you want to stay, we get to purge you. We get to purge you. We get to purge you. Like what's his name in Libya? Once a year. You know? Put him in a high school gym. Hang him. Right? He had a good run. What's his name? Gaddafi. Gaddafi had a good run. What was it, 40 years or something in power? Once a year. You know? Going to gym. The people vote. Of course, the people always vote. And we hang the person who didn't make it because their jokes are bad. We have a little comedy purge. We have a little art purge. We just have a purge. We get rid of the annoying complainers. New York is a money town. It's always been. Every city that has become popular, Rome, Constantinople, Istanbul, whatever you want to call it. I love all people, by the way. I really do. I think all religions are great. Power structures can get a little tricky, but I love all people. I'm just pointing out that, you know, for 1,400 years, Muslims did run the world, and, you know, they weren't exactly as nice as you think they were about it. Okay, I know when you go to college, they call it expansions. Like it's just it's really funny how in universities it's just like nobody even focuses on it. It's like yeah, it's just Muslim expansion, Arab expansions, yeah, Ottoman Empire is Muslim, yeah, but you know, it was just an expansion. Everybody lived side by side peacefully. It was just fun. It was absolutely not the 400 to 600 years of colonial era slavery. It's nothing. There was no similarities whatsoever. It was just, you know, that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. And that happens to everybody. Whoever gets power tends to be a little bossy. Can we just say they tend to be a little boss bitchy? They tend to be a little bossy is what I'm saying. It has nothing to do with race, religion, creed, or whatever. It's like whoever gets power, and people who want power tend to be bossy people, and no matter what their beliefs, they just tend to get a little fucking bossy. And, you know, you go in an oven, you go on a ship, you get your balls cut off, they castrate you, think you get fucked in the ass after they take your balls out. If you're a woman, you get thrown into a room and you get watched by a eunuch. They get a little bossy. It's like, whoa, my boss is a little bit of a dick, and he's not great for worker morale. He's not. The office environment is a little toxic under these sultans, under these conquistadors, under these crusaders. It's a little toxic. All I'm saying is it's all been bad. I'm not pointing one finger out of the other. I'm just saying I just couldn't notice some of the hypocrisy. What they call lies of omission is what you call it, is a lie of omission. So if you want to yell about Israel, as an example, which you can, you can't not also accept that this one country here is doing what all those countries did for thousands of years. You just can't do that. You just can't. And you can't say it to me because that's why I'm here. And I'm happy I'm here. I would rather be here than in some fucking Anatolian Greek village, you know, having to get blown by a goat. I appreciate it. It's the irony of things. I bet you a lot of African Americans would say like, fuck, it sucks, but Zaire sucks. I know, that's just life, you know? But my family was forced out. We had to flee. We were essentially slaves to the Ottomans, who were Muslim. So it's just, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna tell me? What are you gonna tell me, Hassan Piker? But you know, all you got to do is rope people in with a few very good points, and then you can say whatever you want. Once they love you, once they're captured by your looks and personality, Candace, you can just go. Once you point out one or two or three real hypocrisies and catch the government doing something, then you can just go. It's called the Alex Jones effect, baby. It's audience capture. You got to keep going with the conspiracies because that's what people like. But, you know, you hooked everyone with a few good ones at the outset, and then you just fucking run free like a wild horse. And they trust you at this point. Rent in Cleveland is about 21% lower than the national average. So can I suggest running your your TikTok account out of Cleveland? Can I suggest starting a comedy scene in Cleveland? Cleveland's a medium one bedroom right now you can get for about $870 per month. It is a nice city. It's got good bones. There's tons of cities out there like that. Tons of them. But everyone converges on New York, right? So that's the thing. Nobody said in any of these debates, nobody's talking about. The main reason why rent is so high is because everyone wants to be here. There's limited supply and high demand. And it just keeps increasing because immigrants keep coming. 36% of New York's population is immigrants. And they come here because they want to work. They're immigrants, you know? They're immigrants. Immigrants want to work. They want to work. They don't want to, not work. New York is for hustlers. And every city that became a city of importance, like I said, it became a city because of business, because a lot of business was happening. They didn't, it didn't become Rome because the art scene was fucking lit. People weren't like, the art scene gets lit because the kids of rich people go like, I want to explore myself, right? If you're thinking about eating, you're also not thinking about sculpting fat people or talking shit for a living. You can't skip that step. That's what these communists and socialists do. They skip the step. They forget that socialism was invented as a parasitic critique on capitalism. They forget that the art scene flourished because the business scene was flourishing first. New York's a hot spot, not because Madonna stole black culture, which she did, not because she stole Puerto Rican, and Spanish and Italian local freestyle music beats. That's not why it happened, because some Christian girl from Wyoming came here and started blowing black dudes and Puerto Rican dudes and having babies everywhere and won't let it go, even though she's 67. Still walking around like a teenager. That's not why New York got popular. She came here because it was a booming city for business. It's an import-export business. LA booms primarily. Hollywood, yes. But Hollywood is, in that city because of the weather, yes. But it's a booming import-export spot. Business. So when AOC and Mondani say, we're not going to let the future in, we're not going to let Amazon come in to Long Island City and provide the city with, 25,000 direct jobs that we promise. And if we don't promise those jobs, then our tax break will go down, which was a good deal if you think about it. Hey, if we don't provide those jobs and we don't provide an estimated, 6 to 8 billion in revenue for the city, versus the $3 billion in tax breaks that you're going to give us, and you say no to that, you get to yell to your base that I'm a hero. We fought against the big man, the gentrifier, even though, Long Island City is way gentrified, sweetheart. Sweetheart, Long Island City is way gentrified. Okay? Me and you, AOC, can't afford Long Island City as is. But then you think about the trickle-down jobs, the cafes around there, the construction workers, people taking the train. More of the people come. Their income is taxed. You're talking about a lot of money you said no to. You get to your base, go, you're a hero, because I don't want these people messing up the culture of Long Island City. It's not like they were putting that shit slap dab in Spanish Harlem. The average rent for a one bedroom right now in Long Island City, one bedroom, is $3,667. Now, the reason why rents are high is because everyone wants to live in this fucking city. Because you know what happens if the population goes down? You know what happens? You know what landlords do? They drop the rent. Remember after COVID when you can get a whole floor of offices for a fucking Snickers bar? So the only way you could really get the prices down in New York is if you make it a less desirable place to live. And I think Mondani does have the best chance of doing that. So I think he will accomplish his campaign goals. Because if we look, and this isn't a pro Cuomo, I'm just focusing on the Mondami effect. Kid's a star. If you look at some previous examples, right? Let's look at, because what he wants to do, he wants to freeze rents. He wants to do free buses. The free buses and all that stuff we've seen in other countries. So you can look at your examples there. Those are going to be real safe. Those are going to be so safe. The thing about progressives is they always lose on crime, right? Portland, Seattle, Chicago. They all start taking a turn to the right after a couple years because homelessness and crime shoots through the roof. That's what happened in New York. Crime under Wilhelm fucking Redface. What was his name again? De Blasio. Bill de Blasio. Crime actually, it was a mixed bag. Like it was trending down before he got in, right? Because it was Bloomberg and it was the economy was much better. It's trending down and it stayed kind of down. Violent crime shot up, but closer to COVID. I know this, I'm positive. And then, but what really skyrocketed was homelessness, right? The city started getting dirty, careless. Criminals were mentally ill. People were all over the place. So the city took a turn for the right, but they still went Democrat, and they voted a black Democrat in, right? So we don't have this. My aunt was on the subway, and after 9/11, she was scared to wear her job on. Boo fucking who? After an attack like that, things are a little sticky for a few days. Now everyone's fine. You're going to be mayor. We've had a black mayor. We got a woman governor. Everyone shut the fuck up. We've had a black president. You can't keep this shit, the grievance shit going and going ad infinitum. At a certain point, you got to go, that was fucked up, but you have to heal. We have to do EMDR as a society and heal from the past wounds. They don't exist anymore. They're just ghosts. Once you have a black mayor, once you got a communist mayor in de Blasio, once you have a woman governor, once you got assemblymen who are women and fucking trans and whatever, it's like, what's the point of getting them in if you go, it's still. I know, his aunt was really scared on the subway. That was the toughest part of 9/11. So de Blasio tried to do the rent freezes. And it did provide immediate relief, but only for about 1 million people, right? And what he did was he limited it, but he only has a certain amount of power to do it because there is a council that I think that was appointed even before de Blasio was in, where they control how much a landlord can hike your rent. These things are good. These are the type of controls that you need on unfettered capitalism, right? Because libertarians are just equally as naive as, Here's the thing. Socialists and communists, they think people are good and not selfish. Self-interested, mostly. And libertarians also think people are good. It's the same. They think it's just people are good. Eventually, capitalism eats itself. We've seen it. That's another thing we've seen. We basically had libertarian capitalism during the industrial era. It should have put them out of business, to be honest with you. What ended up happening with Hitler should have put the Nazis out of business. What ended up happening with Russia and Venezuela and Vietnam, and the list goes on, should put communists out of business. China. If they didn't adapt capitalist markets, how do you think they got where they got? They used Jack Ma to build up. And then once they got built up, they said, oh, no. Yeah. That whole withering away of the state thing, that never happens. Now this is an authoritarian government. We're a one-party system. And now your company is also the CCP. Is a jack move. Strongman, authoritarian. That should have put them out of business. How many times? The only thing that has created growth, and this isn't about ideology, my friends, it's about data, is capitalism. Capitalism is obviously the best, worst system. Now, it may be gone now that AI is here. I get that. But to this point, the only thing that has created growth and prosperity and medical technology and a yada, 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 fucking yada has been capitalist mechanisms. Hate to tell you. How do you know, Yanni? Vietnam is my favorite example. Can you just look up Vietnam and then we'll get out of here? Okay? So I understand why Mandami has popular, right? Whenever shit gets out of control, billionaires get too much money, people are struggling, there's a push to the left. The same thing happened in, San Francisco, Seattle, Portland. These tech companies opened up. What happens? The educated classes, the tech people, they move in, they get rich, and the native people of those cities who are left behind start getting squeezed by the demand. Your city starts getting hot. Let's just be honest. Your city starts getting hot, and the shithole that you thrived in is no longer a shithole. Let's just call it what it is. But there are some native people who own their houses who cake the fuck off and move to North Carolina with $3 million. That happens too. But the renters get fucked. The poor people get fucked. I get it. I get it. I understand. And I understand the need for the left. I understand. There's a need for a right. There's a need for a left. It's a two-step. I'm just talking here about some of the details. Because Vietnam is a great example, right? Because right now, you use Google. Google is the worst. You can't use Google.
It's kind of everything.
I know, but Google doesn't have it right. Google, I have to say, we've proven it. And I'm not even making this up as a conspiracy. Google is like way politically correct. Remember when Google wouldn't even tell us that, what was it again we were looking up?
Oh, you were talking about Gaddafi.
Gaddafi's yearly purges.
Yeah.
And they were like, there's no evidence of that. And I was like, are you fucking crazy?
Yeah.
What happened in Vietnam?
Well, this tells you what you want to know. The poverty rate has fallen from over 50% in the early 90s to less than 5% in 2020.
Yeah, it does. But
rapid economic growth, integration into global economy.
But this is what I want. It's just better here.
All right, go for it.
Yeah. So Vietnam's economy has averaged a 6 to 7 GDP growth annually for 3 decades. One of the fastest in the world. This is my favorite. Poverty reduction. In the 1990s, some of you were born voting the way you're voting. 70% of the Vietnamese, 70% of the Vietnamese live below the poverty line. Today, you know what it is? It went from 70% to 5% in less than 3 decades. I mean, what other system can do that? They went from rice shortages to being the world's 2nd largest rice exporter. Once you tell a guy, make this work and you'll get rich and be able to get pussy and fly in a jet and be front row to Jake Paul fight, people get motivated. Right? It became a major exporter of coffee, textiles, electronics, smartphones. Samsung produces a big share of his global phones in Vietnam. So does Nike. So did all these alternatives to China, which is what made China rich. Billions in FDI, foreign direct investment, South Korea, Japan, the US, Europe. Now it's a hub of global supply chains. And like I said, seen as an alternative to China. Millions move from rural areas to booming cities like Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi. It's the same fucking program. Middle class rises. Consumer base with cars. Now people got cars. The only way you can keep communism, because it's a mixed economy, much like China, right? Vietnam, they just opened their markets. They privatized, right? Same thing as China. And the only way you keep the communist hold in Vietnam is going to be the same way in China, by force. Because these people got their beak wet. And once you get the beak wet, the only way you could convince them to keep to look the other way when their money gets taken is by force, right? So it is essentially just like China, an authoritarian, it's authoritarian capitalism. There's a one-party rule, but they have open markets, which could be the best thing. I don't know. Maybe the streets will get cleaner. Social credit score. Let's try it. So yeah, that's lifted tens of millions out of poverty in less than 3 decades. Now, yeah, does that come with some environmental concerns? Yes, fucking yes. But you know what also fixed environmental concerns and things like that we've had in the past? And, you know, most of that is population growth anyway, but then they say we need a population. I don't know if that's code for like we need more white people. There's probably a little bit of that. And when Elon Musk talks, I get that. I understand your concerns. I understand everyone's concerns. But you're telling me that a system of interest and allowing people to flourish for their own interest, for their own piggy greed, isn't going to get someone to figure out how to reverse some of these effects with some fucking reverse osmosis or some shit like that, okay? Because I got a fucking solar roof. How did that happen? It happened because someone was making a lot of money making fucking solar roofs. So, in conclusion, you can't skip steps. You can't leap over logic. You can't leap over data. You can't leap over examples. You can't just feel. You can't just feel. You know, the mob mentality, when people get together, dude, you can feel it's scary, right? Is there anything scarier than a mob that's being spoken to by a charismatic person? Brain shuts off. There must be something in our evolution where like the leader was so important to the survival. Because can you imagine how important a leader of your tribe was to ensure to direct the tribe and because of how difficult survival was for so long, especially before we linked up with dogs, which I am certain. This is a big theory with scientists, but I'm certain just using fucking New York common sense. And that's what this episode was. Common sense. I'm no economist. I'm no politician. I'm no fucking expert political commentator. I'm a fucking retard. But I sometimes use common sense. But common sense tells me without a doubt, without dogs, we would not have been able to dream up civilization, right? Because we wouldn't have been getting any REM sleep. We weren't the apex predator. We teamed up with dogs. They allowed us to sleep. They were just like, look, listen, you fucking ape. Just sleep, okay? I got your back. I'll watch for shit so you can sleep deep. Your brain will grow in that REM sleep. And then just give me a fucking couple bacon bits in the middle. Just give me the pizzle. I want the pizzle. Give me the penis to the fucking thing. They love fucking pizzle. Give me the cow dick and I'm fine. I'll watch you all night. You mean I don't gotta go out and hunt? You guys, we hunt together and we worked as a team. Your brains, my fucking brains. Only the two social predators that both hunted during the day. Did you know that? Humans and dogs. Now coyotes hunt at night, animals hunt at night because they're trying to avoid humans. But canines hunt during the day. Humans hunt during the day. You gotta be able to see. Anyway, that's a side point. So that's my point. It's just sometimes you get to look at the examples of how this has worked in Chicago and how de Blasio fared. Worked for like 2 years and then the whole thing fell apart because like we said, the inflation was the real problem more so than the rent increases. Next thing you know, inflation's at 36%. Rent increases are only at 20% over 12 years. So who's getting hit the hardest there is the landlords. They got costs. Things started to rise. Of course, COVID hit. Then, you got to fix your toilet. You got to fucking pay an extra $100 because the supply chain slows down. That's the real world, AOC. I'm sorry. If AOC didn't have emotion to work off of, it would be a tough sell. It'd be a tough sell when I passed her in the organic produce aisle of Whole Foods and we made eye contact for 1 second and I said, I knew you'd be here. Right, I want to give a shout out to forthefree.art, music in Hawaii. Go check out their website, find out about local bands and shows there. Very great website to peruse. Go check out Nate Linder's podcast. Entrepreneurship Unlocked with Nate Linder, where he interviews entrepreneurs from all over the world, doctors, touring artists, CEOs. Also, IndigoLabsAgency.com for your marketing needs. So go check out IndigoLabs.agency, IndigoLabsAgency.com, and Entrepreneurship Unlocked with Nate Linder. Rebels-Raiders.com. He's still raising money to cover the legal costs for Charlotte Hills Farm Sanctuary in New Jersey. The state's trying to force them off their land. The sanctuary is a legit 501c3 nonprofit with over 200 rescued animals. Go research this for yourself. And they need your help to fight back. Just go to rebels-raiders.com, click on the charity tab, and you'll go straight to the GoFundMe. Also, he's got goat shirts at rebels-raiders.com. Now go to charity. PCB Tech Art. If you're having wireless charging issues in your vehicle, shop PCBTechArt.com. You can also find them on Amazon. Great phone charger. They've helped over 10,000 customers fix their charging issues in their automobile. Use the code Yannis15 for 15% off and fix your wireless charging issues today.